These are the best Gemini 2.0 features that can upgrade your use of Google apps like YouTube, Search, and Google Maps. Let's look at the prompts that can make Gemini your one-stop shop for these apps. In the Gemini web app, go to the top and click on the Gemini model for a drop-down and select Gemini 2.0 Thinking Experimental with Apps. It'll say that you can access or you can reason across YouTube, Maps, and Search. There are a couple methods to use these Google apps in the Gemini web app. In this example, we're going to use Gemini for planning. This is for a 5-day trip to DC, calling on YouTube, Google Maps, and Google Search. It's the first method we'll cover using multiple Google apps at once. We're providing context around the time of year, traveling with a pet, attractions accessible to public transit or walking, requests for accommodations, and restaurants, along with other details. You can see Gemini reasoning across these apps as it goes through the different components for the response to the prompt, and it lists out all the details that it's considering. And when we go down to the response, it's a pretty lengthy one. I've seen Gemini produce responses of varying length for the same prompt, so not all responses will be this long. If we start from the top of the response, we can see it gives us an itinerary, and just note some of the suggestions like C&O Canal, Capitol Hill, Eastern Market, Georgetown Waterfront. So it gives us an itinerary for the 5 days along with accommodation suggestions for hotels and Airbnbs. But then it kind of repeats the activity recommendations with Eastern Market, okay, C&O Canal, Georgetown Waterfront, just slightly abbreviated from the previous section. Then we have restaurant recommendations, potential issues that you might face. And then this section doesn't have a header, but it gives some more suggestions for hospitality. Here's yet another section for activities, but remember this is an experimental model. But here's where we see YouTube come into play. So again, for this day we have Capitol Hill and Eastern Market, but we also have a YouTube video preview. In some instances, the response will include a search, a YouTube search, instead of an actual video, but it looks like this link is an actual video, and then we can see it playing here. But we'll go back to our response, and here's another video. You can see in the bottom right corner that it links to a YouTube video. We keep scrolling. There's some other YouTube links, including notes on the pet friendliness. And then there are the recommendations for restaurants. Here's another section for restaurant recommendations, but it looks more detailed than the previous section for restaurant suggestions up above, including description, cuisine, and pet friendliness. Then we come to the accommodation suggestions, where it gives us specific hotels as well as various options to book these hotels. You can click on the link and they actually work, so you can go through and complete the process of actually booking the hotel. And this one actually has a YouTube link as well, so we can see Google Search at play, YouTube at play, and finally it looks like it gives us a day-by-day itinerary where it combines all the information previously mentioned in the response and puts together things like the morning activities, lunch, afternoon activities, dinner. So we can see all the previous information that it provided could probably go into the reasoning portion that's presented before the actual response. But at the bottom, it finally gives us these links for YouTube videos. If you click on the top portion of each suggested videos, is actually giving you the search query, and then below that there's the actual video which you can watch right in this interface here. You'll notice all these videos are pretty recent as we requested in the prompt. For me, all I really needed was the last portion of the response that provided details around accommodations, restaurants, and attractions. It also gave us links from the Google search, including methods to book and booking reservations for those restaurants. Now, you could also follow up to make the response more concise, or in our case, we're just going to continue and request that Gemini show us a map of all these hotels, attractions, and restaurants. Since this prompt was more simple than the first one, the response was much quicker, but this gives us an actual widget for Google Maps that you can engage with. You can zoom in or zoom out, hover over these markers. If you click on one of the markers, it opens up a new tab for Google Maps so you can view details for each of those markers. Google gives Gemini users some great features for each single response. If you have a Google Workspace account, you can share or export the response to Google Docs or send it to a draft in Gmail. You can still copy, and you can even listen to the response.
Here's a pet-friendly 5-day itinerary for your trip to Washington, D.C., focusing on lesser-known spots and dog-friendly locations. Day 1. Exploring Georgetown's charm. Route. Start your day.
So this icon will pop up for the audio. You can resume, you can pause the audio, but this is available for free users of the Gemini app. Now, for our next prompt, we'll only use one Google app to show you how you can take advantage of these capabilities. So we're going to provide it with this prompt, asking it to highlight the key points from this video about foundational LLMs, text generation, and prompt engineering. The video is a collaboration between Kaggle and Google, and it's an hour long. I didn't provide any context as to what I wanted Gemini to focus on, so it looks like it just grabbed the metadata and spit that out in the response. I refined my prompt asking Gemini to create an outline of the key points about foundational LLMs, text generation, and prompting. And this is what I'm looking for. You have the 3 sections for the topics that I mentioned and points for each section. In the same chat, we're asking it where I can find Jordan 3s in the DC area. So it knows to access Google Maps, and it gives us several options that we can look at in order to find Jordan 3s along with the map so we can view where the locations are. 2.0 Flash Thinking looks like the most interesting release. It's available to preview for everyone. If you found this useful, like the video and leave a comment. If you want more content on AI, workflow automation, and analytics, subscribe to the channel.